All right, we're back. Recording this on Sunday night. Sergio is back in Los Angeles. I am in Oklahoma City. Richardson Hitchins is probably somewhere in Brooklyn with his 140-pound title. All is well in the boxing world. Sergio, I left you at about 2 o'clock in the morning at a place called Mustang Harry's, and you looked like you were just warming up for, for a night out. How did the rest of the night go?
It was a wonderful night. Mustang Sally's or Harry's, I don't know what it was called, but from there,
Harry's, Mustang Sally's a song.
We ended up bar hopping, and we ended up at David Diamante's place. He has a place there by MSG. We went there. Fabulous music, great people. I stood out till about 4:30 in the morning. Had a good time. Slept until noon. Wonderful time in New York. City that never sleeps. I love New York City. Can't wait to go back.
We gotta, and we're gonna go back in mid-July. When we go back, we've got to get you out of Midtown because I don't think you have branched out beyond like the theater district. Well, not much. Like, you haven't gone downtown, hung out in Tribeca, hung out in the Village. We were trying to get you to a place I like on the Upper East Side. We'll figure that out. That'll be for.
Well, the next fight's going to be in Queens, so get your itinerary ready.
Oh, get my what?
Itinerary. My Latin tongue won't let me say it right. Itinerary.
That's right. They'll probably put you up in Queens. That's. I haven't spent too much time in Queens over the years. I'm kind of a Manhattan snob.
I'll find
as far
something.
as New York goes.
Let's get to work. Come on,
now.
Right,
let's get into it. Apologize for the YouTube audience. My lighting is not great here in this Oklahoma hotel room. By the way, you audio listeners are fantastic. There are tens of thousands of you. I love you. All of you go over to YouTube and subscribe to the page as well. It's under my name. We post clips, full episodes of the show on YouTube. If you'd like to watch the pod as opposed to just listening to it. All right, Sergio, we're going to start with the main event on Saturday, and that was Richardson Hitchins successfully defending his 140-pound title against George Kambosos. This, for Hitchins, to me, was as close to an A+ performance as you can get, because I thought in this fight we saw all the tools that Richardson Hitchins has in the toolbox. We saw the skills. He operated behind that slick jab, a great right hand. We saw some of the power, especially with the body shots that he was landing on George Kambosos. And then, towards the end of the 8th round, we saw a killer instinct. We saw a guy in Hitchins identifying a wounded fighter in front of him and not just cruising to a decision victory. He goes for the body shot knockout. He gets it. He becomes the second fighter to stop George Kambosos. This couldn't have gone better for Richardson Hitchins. Sergio, what did you think?
I think it was A+ as well. And he did everything right. And I believe that it was the perfect performance he needed in his hometown fight. The body shots were impressive. The jab was great. The right hand was great. But yeah, you said it. The killer instinct is the fact that he went for the knockout, because he could have easily cruised a decision, done what Devin Haney did, when he fought Kambosos, 24 rounds just with the jab. That's not what Hitchins did. Hitchins wanted to put on a show, and he put on a show, man. And that's the reason we're talking about him. That's the reason he put himself ahead of the pack, and in a loaded division with so many names. And he fits in perfectly. On the flight over here, I was starting to, I was looking at all the names at 140 and who I can put on top of them. Of course, I'm going to put Teofimo on top of all of them. But I think he gives Teofimo hell. I think he gives every single name on that list hell. I don't care how hard they punch. I don't care how experienced they are. It doesn't matter. Hitchins is an all-around, well-rounded fighter, and now he's a world champion and carries himself like a world champion and believing in his power too. I think he, he's not a big knockout puncher, but when you hurt a guy like that to the body, something that a lot of fighters couldn't do, only a great fighter in Loma stopped him, like you said, and you become the second. You brainwash yourself thinking that you're a puncher all of a sudden, and you start believing in yourself. And believe it or not, you start getting more knockouts doing that way.
He's starting to peak as a fighter. 27 years old, and his last 2 performances have been his best 2 performances. Going up against Liam Paro a guy that had just beaten Subriel Matias in Puerto Rico, won a decision against Matias in Puerto Rico. Richardson Hitchins beat him clean on that night. Fast forward 6 months later, and look, George Kambosos, he kind of is what he is, right? Like, neither one of us is going to sit here and say that George is some kind of elite fighter. He had a great night back in 2021 against Teofimo Lopez, won that fight, parlayed that fight into huge paydays against Haney, against Maxi Hughes, against Lomachenko, but has not looked like an elite level fighter since that night against Teofimo. But George had spent the entirety of the fight week trying to get under the skin of Richardson Hitchins, like trying to get him out of his comfort zone, making fun of everything from his skill set, saying he was 1/10 of the fighter that Haney and Lomachenko was, making fun of his bank account, saying he couldn't sell tickets, didn't make any money. Like, he did everything he could, and Richardson Hitchins did not take the bait in this fight. He didn't take the bait. He just stayed focused, stayed disciplined, and he had a phenomenal game plan. Like, he went to the body early, Sergio. I said in the second round of this fight, like, they came in knowing they could out-jab George Kambosos. But they saw what Lomachenko did to Kambosos in the last fight, just withering body shots that eventually put him out. That was a big part of their game plan coming into this fight. He stuck to that game plan, and he landed the shot he needed to get Kambosos out of there. I was really impressed with everything that I saw from Richardson Hitchins that night. I think, at this age and coming off those two wins, he's now putting himself in the conversation with not just, I think, some of the best fighters at 140, but, not pound for pound by any stretch, but he's inching up that list inside like the top 25, top 30, whatever it may be in boxing.
I wouldn't talk about pound for pound list, but he has pound for pound talent. But no, he's. I don't even think he's close to pound for pound yet. I mean,
he's not close to top 10. He's not. I'm not saying but I'm saying
that's what I'm. That's what I'm getting when you're saying this. So no, I mean it was a fabulous.
I said top 25, top 30.
It's back to back solid wins against solid champions, and the way that he's executed, it's great, and he got better doing it. Those are all great things. But as far as pound for pound, I mean, he's still far off from there. But look, man, if they keep him busy. If they keep him busy and he fights 3 times a year, he has all the names that are looking his way. Teofimo, jumped in the ring. He wants his attention. We have Bill Haney there, speaking out on behalf of his son. So everyone wants him. Everyone wants Hitchins when it should be the other way around. Hitchins should be chasing Teofimo and should be chasing the other big names at 140. But they see what I see, man. They see what a lot of people see. Richardson Hitchins is going to be the truth, man. He's going to be the truth. The only black eye not black eye, but the only thing I can criticize about Richardson Hitchins was his post-fight interview. I didn't like the way he said that whole free agent thing. It was too soon, man. Enjoy your victory. Why are you thinking business already? Why are you thinking about, especially when you had a great promoter there who has put you there to shine, and he did. And he's invested in him. That's the only thing that kind of set him back. But, it is, man. It is what it is. He's a boxer. He wants to be a businessman. Right now, he should just be thinking about becoming a champion and unifying, not thinking about being a free agent and already looking at the other side of the street.
Look, I understand why Hitchins saying I'm a free agent bothered Matchroom. Matchroom has spent a lot of money on Richardson Hitchins and financially has not had a huge return. I mean, look at some of the events he's main evented. When he was in Florida, there wasn't a big crowd down there. When he was in Puerto Rico, there wasn't a big crowd down there. It turned out to be a pretty good crowd in the theater at Madison Square Garden, but a lot of people sold tickets for that fight. Pablo Valdez, who didn't get a chance to fight on that undercard because his opponent had a medical issue, he sold a ton of tickets. So Matchroom has not gotten as much bang for its buck maybe as it would have liked with Richardson Hitchins. So I can see why they're bothered by it. But people like you and me and fans, like, what do we care? Like, this is, like, Hitchins, what he was doing, whether it was his idea, his manager's idea, somebody else's idea, he was just putting it out there to all the other promoters, letting them know, like, hey, if you've got a great fight for me at 140, I'm able to walk across the proverbial street and go and do
And I
it.
respect that. I'm telling you, I respect the fact that he's a boxer and a businessman, but why did you have to do it right there in the ring? I mean, I'm just talking about the night. We're talking about the performance, the night, everything was great. And I'm just trying to point out something to criticize. I'm like, well,
Well, I mean, but
it
Sergio,
wasn't the time or the place to do it, especially when you have everything in a row, everything went perfectly. Why did you just have to bring out, put Eddie Hearn on blast like that? It just, I don't know. It wasn't a good look. But other than that, A+ performance. That's all. I just had to throw that out there. That's it.
look again. I see why Matchroom and Eddie Hearn were bothered by it. I mean, Eddie, as he said in recent interviews, like he took Hitchins from basically nothing, kind of this undefeated but unheralded prospect, into a world champion, into a guy now headlining, and now into a guy that's in a position to be in big, lucrative fights down the line. Like Eddie Hearn has done right by Richardson Hitchins. Even Hitchins acknowledged that. Eddie was the first guy that he thanked afterwards. But Sergio, you asked why do it in that moment? The answer is simple. That's the most visible moment for him. Like he does it in an interview with one of these YouTubers afterwards. Yeah, some people are going to see it, but you do it on DAZN right after your great performance. That's when most people are probably going to see it. So I'm just telling you, that's why he did it when he did it.
That's
in
what
that
the managers
moment because
are
of
for.
the visibility.
Let the managers speak for you. Let the managers be the bad guy. That's the only thing that rubbed me the wrong way because look, Eddie Hearn did great by Devin Haney. Made a lot of money. He got a lot of big events. Devin Haney ended up, going across the street. Berlanga, that's another guy. So look, man, I just think that it's a business.
But Sergio, let me put this to you. Let me just put look, and this
That's
is
me the wrong way as a fighter. That's all.
I get it, but this is it's such an inside boxing conversation that so few people actually give a shit, to be honest with you. And look, the reality is, and you know this as a fighter, had Richardson Hitchins lost to Liam Paro,
yeah,
Matchroom would have cut him. Would have cut him probably, right? Like had he lost this fight to George Kambosos, probably wouldn't be back with Matchroom there. Like that's kind of how it goes, right? When you're having success, that's when you exercise your most leverage. When you are struggling, that's when you have the least leverage, and that's when promoters can, save a buck and let you go. So I mean, I didn't really have a huge issue with it. I mean, again, I get why Matchroom had a problem with it. I understand that completely. If I was Eddie Hearn, I would have been rubbed the wrong way as well. But for most people, we just don't give a damn. Now, this may be a moot point because I think the next fight that is out there for Hitchins is one Matchroom can and probably should be a part of on some level. You get Teofimo stepping into the ring. Now, Hitchins went out there and screamed Devin Haney's name and Bill Haney's name. There's no point to a Hitchins-Haney fight right now. Haney has no title at 147. He's coming off the worst performance in a win that he's had in a while. Like, you got to get Devin back to a respectable level before you start putting him in a fight with Richard Hitchins. That is just way too soon to make that type of fight. You can go down the list. You can look at, Gary Antoine Russell, fine. The winner of Matias, who's he fighting again? Puello, which is happening next month. That fight's fine too. But Teofimo's right there. Teofimo, who has gone a little bonkers over the last couple of weeks, like he's got no fight out there. And I talked to Keith Conley, the manager of both Richard Hitchins and Teofimo Lopez on Sunday afternoon. He made it very clear that both of his guys, Hitchins and Teofimo, said they want that unification fight next. And he made it clear, as the manager for both these guys, he was standing by to make that fight happen. So Eddie Hearn has the backing of Turki Al-Sheikh. Matchroom has the backing of Turki Al-Sheikh. Maybe you do it as part of a Riyadh season card, a ring card. You could also do it on your own. Do it with Top Rank. Do a deal there where you have the fight in New York. That's a fight, Sergio, that I think could do a good gate in the big room at Madison Square Garden. Two New York area fighters. That would be a tremendous fight, I think, in New York City. So I think that's the obvious fight to make, isn't it? Like everything else makes far less sense than a unification fight between Hitchins and Teofimo.
Stylistically, they all make sense, but as a promoter, to market the fight, to be the biggest promotional marketable fight, I think it has to be the two New York fighters at MSG. It makes all the sense in the world. And the fact that they both know how to sell a fight, that's the thing. Teofimo does it in a quirky way, but he sells a fight, and Hitchins could talk his mouth off. So both these guys are master promoters. that's the fight to make as far as the most lucrative one and the one that's going to probably sell the most seats. But every single fight, every single name down that list, from Puello to Matias to everyone else, they're all going to be good fights. They're all going to be good fights. Hitchins is going to put up a good fight, but so is all the other guys. But the most marketable one, yeah, it has to be Teofimo.
Yeah, and to put a button on it, Hitchins is in this position because he was entertaining. If he had gone out there and just jabbed Kambosos to death, like Kambosos could have lost a wide decision, but he could have done a post-fight interview where he said this guy's just boring, he didn't want to engage whatsoever, and Hitchins in some ways could have lost in victory. I said this in the post-show. Like, to me, Hitchins was kind of inching towards that status of becoming kind of a 140-pound version of Demetrius Andrade, where you're a great fighter, you're a talented fighter, but you can't get big fights because stylistically nobody really wants to get in the ring with you. I mean, Andrade had huge money behind him for years, had a world title around his waist, could not get into a unification fight because people didn't like that he was just boxing his way to wins over guys like Maciek Sulecki and others that he beat, Walter Kautendakwa over the years. Hitchins was kind of approaching that territory. That win against Kambosos, that takes him out of it. That puts him in a different different field altogether. Now he's right there in the mix to fight these big names because people are going to expect him to look good in these fights. And I agree with you. Stylistically, Teofimo's a very good fight. That is the boxer versus the boxer puncher, which I would describe Teofimo as.
And you know what? I'm thinking about the Devin Haney fight, right? So if he fights Devin Haney, you would think it would be a jab fest. Both of them have spectacular jabs. Both of them have the range, and they're not really punchers. But that fight would actually be physical in the second half of the fight. I would think Hitchins would want to make it a physical fight in the middle rounds in the second half of the fight, just like he did in this last fight. I'm telling you right now, Haney is going to be shook in the second half of fights. That's not going to be a jab fest. It might be a jab fest in the beginning, but it's going to be an exciting fight in the second half. So Teofimo's first. Haney's a distant second, in my opinion.
You might be right about how a Haney-Hitchins fight plays out. I have the fear in my mind that it's just two guys with great jabs trying to jab their way to success, that we get 12 rounds of nip and tuck, close rounds of box. I just that aesthetically, that doesn't do a lot for that. That's why I need to see Devin at least get his mojo back, get some momentum back, get a world title maybe at 147. If Boots decides to move up, there'll be opportunities that are there for him. Do that, and then we can revisit a Hitchins fight down the line. All right, let's talk about the undercard. Andy Cruz, now 6-0, knocking out Hironi Mashiro. He is now the mandatory for the 135-pound title owned by Raymond Murataya. We have seen Andy Cruz really grow over the last couple of years since he turned professional, not just with success as a boxer. He is a great boxer, former Olympic gold medalist. But Sergio, he has fully embraced the pro style. This is not William School 2.0. Like, this is not some Guillermo Rigondeaux type coming over from Cuba to try to box your ears off and bore you to death. This is a guy that's coming to knock you out. And he's got 3 knockouts in his 6 wins. He probably could have cruised to a decision over Mashiro in this fight. He was totally outclassing Mashiro from the opening bell on. Mashiro, it's not the point, but at some point, somebody in the IBF offices in New Jersey has to watch boxing. Like, they have to watch actual fights and not just allow guys to manipulate their rankings through the eliminators. Like, Mashiro was not a top 5 lightweight. Andy Cruz made that obvious in their fight. But I love Sergio how he sits down his punches. He goes for knockouts. He was throwing clean right hands over and over again at Mashiro. I thought the Giovanni Strefan performance by Cruz was really good early in his career. He's had some other good ones along the way. This, to me, was the best because from the opening round on, he was dominant. And then at the end of the fight, he found a way to close the show.
For me, the Antonio Moran was the best. It was a bigger stage. I don't know. That was the first time I seen that he can actually punch and go for the knockout. Moran has been in with some tough fights, but Mashiro, man, is a tough fighter, and we expected this coming in. We know he could take a shot. He's never been stopped, and he's Japanese. These Japanese fighters, man, they're warriors to the end, and Mashiro proved that. He had to be safe for himself. And Andy, Cruz, I love the fact that he wasn't loading up on punches because Mishiro was easy to hit. And whenever guys are easy to hit like that, it gets good to you. And sometimes you get over aggressive, and that's when you run into shots. Mishiro was smart enough to try to set him up with that, with the right hooks that he was landing occasionally. Cruz was patient, but he kept popping him with that jab. He kept busting him up. It was the jab that did all the work. The right hand hurt him, but what did all the work, busting him up, softening him up, was that jab. I mean, maybe a couple more body punches if you want to get critical about the performance. I would have loved to seen a little bit more of that. But these Cuban fighters are all about the 1-2. Normally from the southpaw stance, Cruz is orthodox. Just that 1-2. It was accurate punching, not loading up, and it was hitting the spot at all times. Just a perfect marksman, Cruz was, and I love the fact that he went for the knockout as well. Because like we're talking about Hitchins, that's why people want to see you again. And with only 6 fights, he's already in line to fight for a world championship. It's crazy, man. And he's gonna be a ticket seller because he's a handsome guy. He has that background, that pedigree, the amateurs, and he has a team behind him. And he's gonna stay busy. So Cruz has a high ceiling moving forward.
I wouldn't go as far as to call him a ticket seller. Yes, yet he's Spanish-speaking Cuban.
If you put up,
how many Cubans?
You're talking about
tickets?
if you put him in Orlando, if you put him in Miami against another fighter, another top fighter.
But name the guys over the years, the guys with great Cuban back. Like, was Luis Ortiz a big ticket seller? Like, was Yuri Gamboa a big ticket seller? Like,
Gamboa was popular for some time. He was selling
when he fought guys. When he fought guys, right? When he fought Tank.
I mean, a major network signed him up, gave him big money to come on board. So,
I mean, a major network also signed up Rigondeaux back in the day. All right, so like, he signed guys with some talent. I'm not going to go as far as say he's going to be a big ticket seller. I think that's a long way off. But he's another guy that's played the IBF game for forever. Like, his very first fight was a 10-round fight that was an IBF eliminator. He's been fighting in IBF eliminators every single fight that he's been in. Like, he successfully manipulated the system. The difference is he belongs at the top of these rankings. He has more talent than the vast majority of the other guys at 135 pounds. I don't know what happens with this Morataya fight. I would imagine Matchroom pushes hard to get that mandatory ordered as fast as possible. I would imagine that Top Rank, which promotes Morataya, doing everything it can not to do that fight soon. I don't know why they would want to get in with Andy Cruz. Maybe they have Morataya fight Abdullah Mason for a title. I think Abdullah Mason is going to fight Sam Noakes. That was ordered, but I don't know. I think Top Rank's going to try to do some things.
Davis.
Keyshawn's gone to 140. He's gone. He's done.
You don't think Cruz would want to move up to 140 just for
not
one
yet?
fight?
No, not yet. He's done.
Just for that
First of all, Cruz,
fight that everyone wants to see. Keyshawn, his reputation needs to be built back in. I don't know. I'm just thinking out.
Yeah, but Sergio,
a lot of history together from the Olympics.
There's so much time for that to happen. Like, how much bigger would that fight get if Andy Cruz in the next year becomes a unified champion at 135? Like, it just becomes. I hate when fights marinate too long, but that fight still needs some marinating. It's the same thing with Keyshawn. Like, why do you make that fight now when Keyshawn's stock is at rock bottom? Like, you need him to be rehabilitated as well. I would love to see the fight with Cruz and Morataya. I respect Morataya. He's undefeated, good fighter. That win he had over Tevin Farmer ages better by the fight. So I'd love to see that fight. I just don't see Top Rank rushing into that at all. I don't think that's realistic. But whenever Andy Cruz gets a shot, Sergio, I think he's going to win a title. And once he gets that title, you're looking around, going, all right, can we make Andy Cruz versus Shakur Stevenson? Ooh, that is a good fight.
There you go.
That is a boxing purist fight, but that is a good fight. Whoever has the title of the WBO, when that fight comes to place, I don't think Tank's ever going to go near him, but we'll see what happens. I think this next fight, if he gets a title shot, it's going to open up a lot of doors for Andy Cruz. All right, last one from this card, Sergio. Tara Moana. The Australian heavyweight making his U.S. debut. The happiest guy, well, the second happiest guy besides you to be in New York City during that fight week. He comes up with a first-round knockout over Aleem Whitfield. I don't want to read too much into a win over Aleem Whitfield, who was out of the ring for 10 years because of legal issues, who began his pro career at super middleweight. Now he was this big, heavy, 240-plus pound heavyweight who got his head knocked sideways into the corner by Tara Moana. But Tara Moana is now, what, 8-0, got a big personality, a big right hand. We're starting to see some of these younger heavyweights start to make a name for themselves, Sergio. Daniel Dubois is someone still in his 20s. He's going to fight for the undisputed title next month. You got Moses Atauma, who you and I both think is the truth. He's going to fight Dillian White. That's a name fight for him to pick up. What do you think of Tara Moana, having seen him for a brief period of time? Do you think he is someone that is going to wind up in that heavyweight mix?
Yes, he is, because he fits all the numbers. He's 6'6". He's undefeated. He has the power, 8 wins, 8 knockouts. And I really like the fact that he played up the crowd, man. I mean, his ring entrance was probably the best ring entrance from all the fighters on that card. He came out smiling, he came out dancing, and he has rhythm. And then he got the knockout. He went for the knockout. And he was patient with it too. His jab is actually the better tool. He was just busting him up, Lennox Lewis style, with that, popping him with that jab, busting him up, and set up that right hand responsibly. Waited for Whitfield he kept dipping to that right side. And I said it early in the fight. I go, he better start dipping to the left side. Moana's getting closer and closer to land that punch. And sure enough, he landed that punch right on the side of the head. And it did damage, man. And I want to see Moana fight right back, because when you're knocking out guys that easily, you're not getting any cuts, any bruises, any scratches on your face, and it's not a physical fight. You can be active. So you heard Eddie Hearn, and you heard him saying that he wants to be right back next month. And I mean, I could see this guy fighting at least 4 more times this year if he keeps knocking him out like that. I think he's going to fit in just nicely in the heavyweight division.
Yeah. There's another card in Australia in a couple of months. He's going to be on that. I'm sure he'll get 3 more fights in before the end of the year, try to get him to around 10-0. The personality is going to suit him really well. He's got this incredibly fun backstory. Went by his middle name of Samson for most of his life. When his grandfather passed away, he went back to his birth name, which is Tara Moana, which is also the name of his grandfather. Big name in the Cook Islands. Has not cut his hair for 6 years, to invoke the Old Testament story of Samson. Won't cut his hair till he wins a World Heavyweight Championship. So there's a lot to like about this guy. I do want to see him in with better competition before I'm sure. Like, I'm sure about Moses Atauma. Like, I think Moses Atauma is the truth, because I've seen him against guys like Dempsey McKeon and those kind of fringe level C type guys. I still want to see Tara Moana in with that type of guy, but I love the potential. I love the upside. He's got a good promoter in Matchroom, a good manager in Brian Peters. They're going to keep him active. I like his potential overall. All right. Last thing for you. In Buenos Aires, Argentina, Nonito Donaire, who is close to our age, picked up an interim title, defeating Andres Campos by technical decision. A lot of headbutts in this fight, forced the stoppage. I think it was the 8th round, but this was a fight that Donaire was winning comfortably anyway. You and I have been around Donaire a lot over the last couple of years. Like, it seems like every fight we go to, he just pops up at. Him and his wife, Rachel, are just there, whether it's like Texas or Southern California or Nevada, where I think they live. They're just there. And every time we see Nonito, he's having a good time, but he's like, I'm not done yet. He beats Campos. He's got an interim title at 118. Do you think he's still got something left in the tank to make one more run at a major title?
Hate to admit it, but yes, I like what I saw with Nonito Donaire. I expected to see an older version of a guy that gets hit a lot, a guy that only has one punch and only looking for one punch, which is that left hook. But he fought like an older version of a great fighter, and I still see sparks of what he can. I mean, he's not going to be a top fighter anymore, be number one again. He ain't going to be a pound for pound talent. But whenever you're great, you can find ways to still, show signs of greatness. And Donaire still has that left hook, and he still was able to pick apart a cagey fighter, man, because Campos came to win that fight. He was moving around nicely, which is what you need to do. He was staying away from that left hook, but Donaire made adjustments. Started going down to the body, the uppercuts. He started throwing that right hook around the guard, and ultimately he was able to stop him. The headbutts got involved as well, but still, I like what I saw with Donaire. And if you can put him in for one last cash out payday, Maybe against a Chocolatito. We haven't heard Chocolatito retire. Chocolatito hasn't looked great, but that's a great name. So people like nostalgia, man. People love great names and great events. For the two fighters from the opposite side of the world both got power. That will still sell, man. That'll still sell. They're old dogs and they're long in the tooth, but I'll tune in.
Yeah, he's so the full title holder in this weight class is Antonio Vargas. And before prepping this podcast, I didn't know anything about Antonio Vargas. He's basically been fighting down the Caribe Royale his entire career and has a 118-pound title. He's 28, so he's considerably younger than Donaire, but based on his resume, he looks like someone that Donaire could have success again. If Donaire winds up beating Vargas to win the full title, he's got to get a big fight. Like, Junto Nakatani is the man at 118 right now. He's got 2 of the belts. I would think Nakatani would welcome a unification fight against Donaire. Donaire has been over to Japan a couple of times, or has fought. I don't know if the first fight was in Japan. I don't think it was. It was part of that Super Series. But he's went over to Japan to fight Inoue in his last time against Inoue. So he's built himself a big name. I am sure Nakatani would love to get a piece of Donaire. I got to give Nonito a ton of credit, man. Like, between him and you, like, they got to like sample the blood of you guys, because Nonito's 42 and is still making 118 pounds. Right. Like, you eat and drink like Norm from Cheers, but you look like Sam Malone. Like, it's we got to figure out the metabolism of you guys. But Donaire, he's making 118. He looked fine. Beat a guy like Campos, now an interim champion. Got a chance potentially to fight Vargas. That's got to be a makeable fight. Like, Vargas isn't a name. Vargas, I'm sure, would love a chance to fight.
Definitely a makeable fight. But look, we're talking about the right names to put in front of him. Either you're going to cash out with a big name, or you're going to keep it safe and pick up a strap against an unknown. The Nakatani fight, I don't like for Donaire. I wouldn't like the Nakatani fight. No, even for money. This is when I will go back. If you remember our last pod, you were the one criticizing Donaire for coming back. And I said, I'm giving him a little chance. I would like to see. I could see how he'll do good against this fight. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. You, on the other hand, just tore him down. Now you're talking about Nakatani and money. See how quick you change? That's just the way fans are, man. It's a fickle business, but that's what happens when you got power and you got a legacy behind you, because Donaire has that name. He has that name, and he has the quickness and the power, and people still want to see him, man. Believe it or not. I was actually happy for him. I was proud of him, and I'm glad that he's going to get another payday, because he didn't look all that bad at 42 years old.
No, and look, if he can beat Vargas, and I'm assuming he and his team will try to make that fight happen. Maybe it's not Nakatani, although there's probably a pile of money in Japan to fight Nakatani. There's probably a pile of money to fight Chocolatito, who you just mentioned. Like, Chocolatito would love an opportunity to go up one more weight class for a big payday against a big name. That's a headliner. I don't know where you'd put it. Put it in Arizona, Southern California, maybe Texas, but that's a headlining fight. And it just was remarkable, Sergio, that we're sitting here in summer of 2025 talking about Nonito Donaire being a champion again. This guy was my fighter of the year like 13 years ago, 14, I don't know how long ago it was, and he's still fighting at a high level. I give him all the credit in the world for turning into that type of guy. Real quick, I want to get your take on one thing that happened this weekend. We disagreed a little bit on the Hitchins and how he operated afterwards, but I got to ask you about Edwin De Los Santos. I don't know if you saw this story. Edwin De Los Santos has parted ways with Samson Lukowicz. Samson Lukowicz, who was his promoter, was the one that pulled the plug on the Keyshawn Davis fight. Samson took one look at Keyshawn not trying to make the weight and said, screw it, I'm going to get my fighter some money. Reportedly got half his payday. Like,
I've been following the story. I'm well aware.
Okay, so he got. I'm just explaining to the audience. Like, he got like 150, 160 grand. Did not have to fight. And lives to fight another day. Apparently, like, De Los Santos was pissed about that. That De Los Santos wanted to go forward with the fight and fight Keyshawn Davis. I said this immediately afterwards when this deal went down. Samson Lukowicz, his people did the right thing. Absolutely, positively did the right thing. If Edwin De Los Santos went through with that fight against Keyshawn Davis, it might have been the last fight Edwin De Los Santos ever went through with. There would have been permanent damage done by a non-rehydrated or dehydrated Keyshawn Davis against De Los Santos, who, if you go back and look at the picture on the weigh-in, looked like Skeletor, like just was struggling to get down to 135 pounds. Good move by Samson Lukowicz. I can't believe that De Los Santos was so pissed that he fires the guy, whatever you want to call it, fires the guy. I don't know what you think. I thought it was wild to see that story break over the last couple of days.
If De Los Santos didn't get paid for that fight, then I would be on board and be just as frustrated and upset at my manager and Samson Lukowicz. But he still got paid. He still got paid without fighting. He got paid without working. Yeah, he had to make the weight, and that's part of the job. But he didn't take no punches. He didn't get bloodied up. He didn't get beat up, and he still got that payday. And he has the nerve to part ways with the man that probably extended your career and your health, because he was thinking smart, because Samson is a damn good manager and he's been there for a long time. That was a bad judge of character on De Los Santos' part. So let him move on. Let him move on, because he's going to find out that this is a dog-eat-dog type business, man. And he's not going to find anything better. And if you're pulling out of fights like that and splitting up relationships that are good relationships, it's going to be a bad look for you, man. Moving forward with not only other managers and other promoters, but even with networks, man. Networks, if they can't rely on you and you're willing to, part ways with someone that's only looking out for your best interests like that, yeah, man, you're ruining your own reputation and shooting yourself in your foot.
Look, he'd been off for like 18 months. Obviously, he wanted to fight. You can, I'm sure, relate to that. Long layoffs, dealing with all the politics of boxing. But, dude, you got like low six figures not to fight.
We want to get paid. If we can get paid without fighting, that's what we got. He got paid for training. That's what he got paid for. He got paid to have a camp and prepare for a fight, and he still got paid without taking punches. You give me that job, I'll take it right now. Any fighter will want to take that job. De Los Santos, that was a terrible look. There's some personal beef between them. They must have had something else going on, because I don't think that's all the story going on there.
I mean, there better be, because I thought Samson saved that man's life. Saved him from what would have been a hellacious beating by a non-dehydrated Keyshawn Davis. Should be pointed out, though, Sergio, that you were willing to step in and replace Cesar Diaz to fight Pablo Valdez this past weekend. I think your final offer was $20,000. You're willing to step in to fight Pablo for $20,000?
I don't know the zero. It was 200,000.
I don't think it was 200. They weren't making that.
No, you said 20,000. I said, come on, man. I would have done it though. I would have done it for 200,000. I would have gotten him. Give me some gloves. I'm in, because I looked at Pablo Valdez. I'm like, for 4 rounds, a 4-rounder.
No, remember what I told you after I said it was 8?
Oh, 8. I'm gone. My liver hurt when you said 8. my legs shivered. No, 4 rounds. I would have saved the fight. But other than that, no more.
All right. Pablo Valdez will be back in July. If he's willing to do a 4-rounder, I've got the opponent there for him.
There you go.